your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
A reaction to some things that we've already discussed this morning. We get this: Astros were motivated by your comment, Chuck. Wouldn't have done it without you. Okay. Well,
good work, Heinz.
Yeah, I'm glad to do that. By the way, today is the first day of October. Jamie pointed out that I was neglecting and telling you all that. If you hadn't figured it out,
I didn't even know. I just looked at the schedule. It's like, oh my gosh, it's October 1st. You usually would tell us.
Yeah, it's the first Tuesday in October.
I mean, and it's 10/1/24. Surely there's some
some numbers behind that.
Some numbers of significance to that, right?
Okay, yeah. We'll have the Braves and Padres on the air for you tonight as well. That'll be on Double T 97.3. That'll be at 7:30 tonight. We'll have coaches from Monterey and Lubbock High in on 100.7 The Score for the high school fan zone. Monterey, another tough luck loss last week, and Lubbock High idle. So we'll see if Juan Rodriguez, the coach of the Lubbock High Westerners, thinks that the bye week came at a good time. They've won 3 straight, first time since 1975. So some might say, hey, don't wake them up. Let them keep playing. So we'll hear from Coach Rodriguez and Coach Judd Thrash tonight with Randy Rosetta beginning at 7 on 100.7 The Score. This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Nowadays, players just use their translators to do their betting for them. That's a reference to Shohei Ohtani and his translator, who's now in the clink. That's still a curious story, Jamie.
Very curious story.
Yeah.
Just felt like that thing was pushed to the side as fast as possible.
Yeah.
I have no proof of any of that, but it just seemed really odd to me. There are a lot of questions there.
A little stinky, isn't it?
Yeah.
A little stinky. Let's see. This from the Yates Flooring Center's chat line. Steroids weren't always illegal. Gambling on baseball has always been illegal.
Very true.
Very true. And there's, the 70s were known for their days of the greenies in the clubhouse. Just scoop them up, put them in your coffee, put them in your mouth or your hot chocolate or your Coca-Cola or whatever it is, and give yourself some go pills, and see if that can help you out a little bit. There were times when I liked Pete Rose, and then really a lot of times I didn't like Pete Rose. I think I probably liked him more early in his career just because he was a hustler, and I felt like he got an awful lot out of himself. But then when he went to the Phillies, he just became arrogant. And there's my bias there, because the 1980 Royals team was one of my favorite, maybe my favorite team of all. They were so good. They won the American League Championship. They played the Phillies in the World Series, and Rose was his cocky SOB self in that series, and they backed it up and they won in 6 games. And I just remember, it's funny how you remember a play from a series some 44 years ago. I just remember Rose catching a ball right in front of the dugout, and he made a spectacular play, and then he spiked the ball. And they had,
sounds like Rose.
They had the AstroTurf, and it bounced right up, and he had that smirk on his face, and I don't know. It just didn't go set well with me. Somebody, I think this is sarcasm, says this. Here you go, Chuck. 10, 1, 20, 24. 1 plus 0 plus 2 equals 4. 4 different numbers. 10, 20, 24. Okay. 10, 1, 24. All right. 1, 0, 2, 4. Yeah, that's pretty good. 1, 0, 2, 4. Somebody says, whoops, I missed a 1. Yeah. Whoops, I missed a 1. It's all right. I mean, it made sense to me if it made sense to you. Somebody says Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I disagree with you. Somebody said I like Johnny Bench, did not like Pete Rose. I like those Reds.
Yeah, it's a completely different personality.
Yeah,
there.
I like those Reds teams in the mid-'70s. I mean, and it's ironic, but Pete Rose, one of his last photos that he took a picture with himself. Somebody took the picture, obviously. It wasn't a selfie. It was Dave Concepcion, George Foster, Johnny Bench, and Ken Griffey Sr. So that's quite a...
That was a picture taken this past weekend?
Uh-huh.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, bet you, people wish they had that one.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's... And Tony Perez was also in there, too.
Good luck getting all those guys to sign it.
There'll be one that won't.
That was the point.
Be one that won't. You know?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Tony Perez's kid get a job yet?
No, but man, I'll tell you what. I got mad at him. I might have said something like, "Shut up, Eduardo Perez," because he so the Braves are up 3-0. Okay, and I think there's no outs. Okay, there's a runner on first, and I forget who the batter is, and it's a bounding ball, and with his speed, the announcer said, "Hey, he should make it," and he kind of pulled up, and it was a double play, and Eduardo Perez goes, "I didn't really like how that happened," and then the next guy hit a bounding ball, I think, to the shortstop, and it was quite clear there was no reason for those guys to leg that out. I mean, it's 3-0. It's the bottom. It's the top of the. It's the bottom of the. It's the. I'm trying to figure out what it was. If it was going to be the end of the ball game. It was the Mets were up. It was the bottom. It was the top of the ninth. So the Mets were up. There was no reason for them to leg that out and pull a hamstring, knowing that they're going to be playing the next day. And Eduardo Perez, Mr. Higher Mighty Soul, I didn't like how that ended. Insinuating that they should like dive at the base, you know.
I'm sure his team would have done that.
Yeah.
Sure thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The other guy that passed away, and somebody reminds on the Yates Flooring Center chat line, Dikembe Mutombo.
Yes.
This is very sad. I mean, he had brain cancer, dead at 58. So you've got a dead baseball legend, a dead basketball legend.
Uh-oh. Watch out, football.
Let's watch out, football. Somebody out there is suspect, you know. And it's got to be a big name.
I don't know, man. With all the celebrity deaths over the last week, I think we're good.
Yeah, Chris
There's
Christopherson.
been a bunch.
Yeah.
But you got to have a trio of 3.
You got to have a trio.
I think we're at 7 right now.
But those
in
two
the last
don't
week.
go.
Those two don't go with Chris Christopherson and the actor.
And actress.
And actress.
And
Again, still don't.
They don't go together.
There's been like 7 deaths in the last week of notable.
The combo is not set yet. You've got to have a footballer.
Or hockey.
Or hockey. But I think it's going to be a football legend, unless it was Wayne Gretzky.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Drive time for this day in sports history. Today is October 1st, 2024. And with this day in sports history, here is Jeff McGuire.
1924, gentlemen. Finnish distance runner Paavo Nurmi runs a world record 4-mile of 19 minutes, 15 seconds, 0.4, and a world record 5-mile, 24 minutes, 6 seconds, 0.2 in Russia. Same day. Boom.
Boom.
I'm just saying, 2 world records in one day in 2 distance events. That's impressive.
That's impressive. One would be impressive.
One would be impressive enough, yes. 1932. Babe Ruth's legendary call. Points to center field before homering into the Wrigley Field bleachers in the 5th inning. Game 3 of the World Series. Yankees win 7-5. Although, depending on who you ask, he was pointing at the pitcher, saying it was just 2 strikes at that point. But hey.
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
I don't know. I think it's a better story, him yelling at the pitcher than homering on him. But that's a different story altogether. 1950, New York Giants beat the Cleveland Browns 6-0 at Cleveland Stadium. Sets the Browns' club record for fewest points scored by both teams. Browns go on to win the NFL championship that year.
Wow. They have yet to appear in a Super Bowl.
That is correct.
But at least they got a quality dude behind center.
They sure do.
Way to go, Browns.
1961. New York Yankees outfielder Roger Maris becomes Major League Baseball's all-time single season home run leader when he passes Babe Ruth's mark with number 61 off Boston rookie Tracy Stallard in a 1-0 Yankee Stadium win.
Wow, it's a game-winning RBI, too.
1975, Muhammad Ali stops Joe Frazier in 14 rounds in the Thrilla in Manila for the WBC WBA heavyweight title. 1989, Dallas Cowboy defensive end Ed Too Tall Jones records his 1,000th NFL tackle in a 30-13 defeat to the New York Giants at Texas Stadium. That's a lot of tackles. And in 2005, Texas Tech Cody Hodges rushes and passes for scores as the Red Raiders also get a fumble recovery for a touchdown in a 30-17 win over Kansas. All right. It is October 1st, which means it is National Apple, Caramel, Chili, Cookbook, Cookie, Dessert, Pasta, Pickled Peppers, Coffee Month.
Pickled peppers.
Yeah. I'm not know what I could do the pickled pepper, but I can pretty much do everything else.
It is also something that I think all of us up here are a huge fan of, especially since whenever I've done it, everyone gobbles them up. Happy Homemade Cookie Day.
Oh, yes, absolutely. How's that mixer going for you?
The mixer is fantastic. I need to finish the cookies I currently have. I should just bring them up here and let you guys destroy them. But I'm ready to make a new batch of cookies, but I have to eat the cookies I have first. Mm-hmm. And if I bring them up here, then I can make cookies.
Does that mixer do anything else other than make cookies?
Oh, yeah. Mashed potatoes. And it's done a lot, but I am no longer limited on my desire to make cookies by using a hand mixer. So
Gotcha.
I've made a lot of cookies. Happy birthday. Former President Jimmy Carter turns 100 today.
I mean, he is barely hanging on.
But hanging on he is. Julie Andrews is 89. Brie Larson, 35. Mark McGuire, 61. And Rod Carew is 79.
I bet you he could get a hit today if he got out of bed.
Probably in flip-flops. And on this day in 1962, I'll bet Chuck was a very happy camper. Because for the first time in history, we hear Ed McMahon say, "Here's Johnny."
That was
as
really
he takes
good.
over the Tonight Show.
That was really good. That was a really good Ed McMahon.
And it was okay. And that is this day in sports history.
All right, it's time for your lucky local winning word this morning. It's brought to you by the Home Zone, making your house a home. Somebody's going to win $250 tomorrow. Somebody else $250 the day after tomorrow, and somebody else is going to win $250 on Friday. But you cannot win if you do not enter. And you can enter by going to doublet973.com. At this point in time, at 8:45 or at 4:45 this afternoon. It is a local contest. The money is given away to local listeners just like you. And at 6:50 this morning, your lucky local winning word is owls.
Owls.
Owls. Like, you do give a hoot about this, because if you win $250, it's because of an owl. OWLS. 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 Owls is your lucky local winning word. The lucky lady gave me a factoid conversation starter for you for today, for this day in sports history. It is this day in history, this day in Texas Tech history. On this day in 1925, it was the first day of classes at Texas Technological College. The university was established in February of 1923. They underwent construction in 1924, and they were ready for students on this day, October the 1st, 1925.
Short semester.
Probably went every day of the week to make up for the classes that they missed in September. Or maybe they did it virtually. Who knows?
Virtually.
I don't think you virtually thinks how you think it works.
I know. I was just trying to be funny.
I I don't think any of that works the way you think it works, actually.
What do you mean? How do you think I think it works?
That's a great question. No one really knows the answer to that question. How you think things work.
Well, I mean, I have an idea in my mind how it works. I mean, virtual today is different than virtual back then because virtual back then didn't exist. I was trying to be funny.
My head virtually hurts right now.
I couldn't.
Not figuratively?
Just virtually.
Let's see. Thank you for listening to The Morning Drive, where we guess who's going to die next. Hope it's not you. I think it's going to be Jimmy Carter. He'll be the next celeb to die.
I mean, he's been on hospice care for like 2 years.
Right. He's just, I mean, he's waiting to get to 100. It's a big number. He can say, I made it to 100. Rosalind, I'm coming for you.
I did like the story that as a true Southern gentleman, he let his wife go first. She passed away earlier this year.
Okay. I'm not sure that that's the definition of a true Southern gentleman, but okay.
Letting your wife go first?
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of the rules.
Letting him die first?
Letting her go wherever she wants to go. She gets to walk through the door first.
Well, I get that. I think this is. I think people are wringing their hands too much over this, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you guys think? This guy asks, I'm assuming guy, how soon can Micah Hudson enter the portal? We're honestly really not worried about that, are we? Are you worried about that?
I think the portal opens up in December at some point. There's your answer.
Yeah. But are you worried about that?
I don't want him to enter the portal, but if he's not the best player at his position right now, I don't want us to give him snaps.
Right.
I want us to win now. I'm not worried about next year and the year after.
Yeah, worry about next year.
I want us to play the best players. I mean, what in what world has that not always been the way we want to do it? Mm-hmm. We're not. I mean, in case you haven't noticed, our games have been close.
Right. Yeah. No,
we're 12 points from being 1-4.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we need.
Right. We kind of need to have the best guys on the field.
Right.
If he's not the best guy on the field, what un-American world do you live in where it's like, hey, let's not play the best players?
Right. Oh, that was really good, Jeff. Play the Tonight Show theme. Thank you for that. 6:54 this morning. And you're right, Jimmy. You're exactly right.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Thanks for being with us today on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3. Sentex Hank says this: I've become the negative Nelly for the Arizona game and put our percentage of winning at 15%. Hope I'm wrong.
I think that's higher than mine.
I was going to ask you what yours was, because Jamie's was 25%, mine's 35%. Sentex Hank is 15%. 10? Okay.
Okay, so without trying to be just total negative about it or whatever, where's your confidence come from? What about it? Here's where I know you're just barely above me or whatever. Yeah. So all three of us are below in the 50%. Category of that we're going to lose. Mm-hmm. Okay, but if you're going to be Johnny Sunshine Pumper, what are you looking at and going, yeah, here's why I think we're going to win? Well,
I think your offense is starting to click. Okay, I think what obviously you've got on the ground with Taj Brooks. If you played a really good defensive front team this past weekend, and your running back had a great night, and your quarterback had a great night. Didn't throw any picks, was judicious with the ball, and should have had 3 more completions. You could make the case that if he had a little more zip on the ball with a couple of those, might have had touchdowns instead of field goals. So I think my confidence in the offense is growing, all right? Confidence in the ability for keeping Baron Morton healthy is growing. Loved how he was able to take advantage of the defense a little bit, a couple times, and get some really long runs. Not that you want him to do that all the time, because that puts him in precarious situation. Anytime you've got your quarterback out there running, but it was an open field, and he scampered. And then I think obviously your kicking game and what you've been able to do with that, when you haven't had the opportunity to get in the end zone, or you had the opportunity, you squandered it, or you just weren't able to get it, enough first downs to put yourself in position to get a quick touchdown. And Coach McGuire talked about yesterday kind of a little bit of a change in philosophy for him, just in terms of, hey, against these teams, making them come from behind, making them, or staying ahead of the game instead of going for it on fourth down, taking the 3 points. So they've moved. You'll love this. And I don't know what it looks like, if it's got some kind of a aura about it, but they have moved the analytics book to the sideline so that they can have face-to-face conversations about it, as opposed to through the headset where he's talking over people. Okay. So they've moved the book. Now, and here's the other thing: you've been able to outscore teams, and so that's the name of the game. And you've been able to get some stops when you've needed to. So that's where my confidence is coming from.
See, the kicking game I've got confidence in, and one of the things that has been kind of in the conversation recently with regards to the analytics is keeping the pressure on an opponent. That sometimes 3 is enough, because then they have to get points to keep up with you. And while 7 is ultimately better than 3, 3 is exponentially better than 0. And you're forcing them to be perfect, as opposed to if they make a mistake, they're then down another 3 or then 10 in 2 possessions because they're not getting something taken care of. And that keeps the pressure on. And your kickers have absolutely made every kick they've kicked this year. And if you told us that at the beginning of the year, all of us would have been shocked for what we were hearing in the fall. But where I am looking at your possibility of having success this week is the fact that I feel like your defense has gotten better each week, and you haven't had just a massive, hey, let's go get 4 turnover game yet. Let's go really impose our will in the takeaway situation. And you had a bunch against Abilene Christian, but they can absolutely turn a game, and we haven't seen them do that yet. And if they can continue to improve, that's on the table for them to be able to do.
I think we've been saying that the defense has improved, and I think they had. I think this past Saturday was a step backwards. Okay? I'll say this. To my question, I like what our chatter here was saying on the Yates Flooring Center chat line as far as Sunshine Pumping goes. He says Arizona's looked good in 1 game so far. They did it against a terrible quarterback. Arizona's beatable. Okay, so I think that's a point. Arizona, heading into last weekend, I was more confident in beating Arizona before last weekend, before they played so well at Utah. And again, Utah was playing with a freshman quarterback who's not very good. And that was really a major, major factor in this game. But going up till that game, Arizona did not look good. They looked highly overrated and just didn't look like they had a lot of life in them. But they sure did. They had the week off before the Utah game, and they looked great this past Saturday. There's no question about it. But again, I think Utah wins that game if they have their quarterback. And Arizona doesn't win the game. Here's another thing that I would say gives me a lot of confidence. Your defense has been so much better against the pass when Braylon Lux is in there, and you expect to have him this week.
Yeah.
Okay? I think he's a big factor. Okay? So if you have him, then I think you're a better defense. Okay? And that gives me some hope as well. Okay? You're talking about how your offense is clicking now. I can't buy into it because your offense has clicked at home and been terrible on the road.
Okay, but you played 1 game on the road, and
for 3 straight years.
That was game 2.
3 straight years,
and you didn't have Taj Brooks.
3 straight years.
I understand.
Okay, so I can't buy into that yet. I like the way your offense has played the last 3 weeks. I thought it's been good. It really has. I loved how Barron played last week, okay? And Taj was terrific. I feel like you're doing a lot of good things on offense. But until I see you do it on the road, I can't tell you right now that's what's giving me confidence. Do I think it's possible that they play well on the road this weekend and score 34 points or something? Yeah, sure I do. But I can't tell you I have confidence that that's going to happen.
How many points do you think they need to score to win?
35.
I think you probably could get a win in the mid-30s, yeah.
Okay.
You probably could.
Something that if you're looking for something to hang on to, and this is why I think the defense has been continuing to play better, even though maybe last week was a step back. When they have had a target to focus on of this guy doesn't get to beat us, it's got to be somebody else, you've achieved that. You faced two running backs that were in contention to be some of the best running backs in the Big 12 along with Taj, and you've held them to under 100 yards. In fact, you held Sorsby last week to 52. Like, you've been able to contain their big running backs.
Well, Sorsby was their quarterback.
Right. Well, that's Sorsby.
Their other running back got hurt. Yeah.
But you were able to contain their running attack.
You did.
And like, when the quarterback is the leading rusher, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that he did say yesterday, Coach Tim DeRuyter, he talked about Braylon Lux and talked about him being out as hurt, obviously. He said, you know, and he gave praise to Macho Stevenson, who's been starting instead of Braylon Lux, but he also said this: he has to grow up and play. He said he won the spot when Lux, you know, was out, and Coach McGuire said that Braylon Lux ran yesterday, I guess before practice or during practice, and so they're hopeful, like you said, that he can play. But
I think he would be a huge help.
Yeah. The other thing that Tim DeRuyter said yesterday is that we've got to give up less explosives. And he said that that's something that they do a great job at Arizona. The first-round draft pick wide receiver, quarterback who has a great rapport with the receiver because they went to high school together and they both came to Arizona together, and then they stayed at Arizona when they had a chance to go in the portal. So that combination is somewhat lethal. And it's going to be a problem, especially if you don't have Braylon Lux. 7:25 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Jamie's question of the day is next.
This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, guys, I feel like we've been on this roller coaster ride with the Red Raider football team this season, and it's kind of silly to feel that way because you've now won 3 consecutive games.
Okay. And you had to win those 3. Those are the home games. Absolutely had to have those.
So I'm going back to our question here. All right. And I'm going back just because I think it's just interesting how it's fluctuated so much, right? Even after you were at 1-1. I mean, at 1-1, you were really nervous about where you were going to end up. And then you rattle off 3 straight games, and like you said, that you knew you really needed to win. You knew you really needed to win. And so I guess I'm wanting to gauge how high the confidence level is right now for this being a team that's going to do some serious damage in the Big 12. So just flat out boring little question here that we've hit on already, I think twice since the football season started. Okay. And help us out by reminding us where you started your season prediction win total.
Yeah, I started.
Where you went to the last time we asked this question and where you are now.
Okay. So I started at 9-3, okay? And then after, I think, Abilene Christian, I think I went to 7-5 pretty quickly.
No, I'm pretty sure you dropped lower than that. I think you were at 6-6.
No, I think that was me. I think Chuck was 7-5.
7-5. I've not been below 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I went to 8-4. And I'm going to stay at 8-4.
You're going to stay at 8-4.
I started the season 8-4. I stayed at 8-4 after the first 3 weeks.
He's going to triple down.
I am still at 8-4. Okay. I'm not. You're going to win your home. I still feel like you're going to win your home games this year. So there's 7, and I'm just not buying into losing both TCU and Iowa State on the road. I'm not buying into either one of those teams. Iowa State, if you go up there and absolutely get smoked by Ames and the environment there and everything else, I will deserve everything that I get. I'm just not buying into the Cyclones. You can't make me. And until they shove it down my throat, I'm not going to take it as a loss. So you're going to win one of those two games, and that's 8-4.
Okay, so Jamie, on the 3rd of September, you went to 6-6. That's after the near loss to Abilene Christian. And then on the 16th of September, you went to 7-5.
That was after North Texas.
Yeah. So are you going to stay at 7-5, or are you going to?
Do I have to give an answer? I thought it was just Jamie's question, not Jamie's answer of the day.
No, you've
had to answer all of your other questions, so yes, you have to answer this one.
I am confident in Baylor. That game. I think if I was going plus or minus 50%, I would go plus on West Virginia. I think I'm going to stay at 7-5.
Okay.
I'm nervous about TCU and Colorado because of the way they throw the football and how good they are in the passing game and how much you struggle defending the pass. Mm-hmm. Those to me both seem like they should be winnable games, and I think they are. I'm definitely nervous about both of them. Okay? The other thing is here, those two don't have great defenses either, and you're allowed to score against them.
Sure you are.
Okay? Home or on the road, you're allowed to score against them.
Sure you are. Yeah.
Okay? So, basically, I'm saying you're going to get one of those two games. So, you're going to get Baylor, you're going to get West Virginia, and you're going to get either Colorado or TCU. And I think of the shock of all shocks. If I had to choose one or the other, I would say Colorado.
But you're going to get a win?
Like if I had to pick one, I'd rather lose to TCU than Colorado. Just shocking.
Wow.
You are really tired of that one school. Man. That's saying something.
Is Dion in your head a little bit?
It's really not about... It's not as much about... I think Dion is a fraud, okay? I think Dion is a fraud. I think the things that are going on there are... There's some disgusting going on to it, but I just cannot stand the hype. I mean, the hype. It's just over the top. Yeah.
So you're going to stay at 7-5?
I'm going to stay at 7-5.
Okay.
I think Shedeur Sanders is really, really good, though. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. Mm-hmm. But I also think he's a bit of a scumbag, too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, certainly filing for bankruptcy, to avoid, paying your legal obligation does not make you a model citizen by any stretch of the imagination.
And that was actually the other brother.
Oh, that was the other brother. Okay.
Yes.
I thought that was Shedeur, too.
Oh, I thought that was the defensive back one.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, who knows? I mean,
yeah, I thought that whole deal was pretty despicable. You got the money, just pay the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, just pay up.
To protect your NIL. Mm-hmm. I think Travis Hunter is also phenomenal. Yeah, he should be winning the Heisman. Travis Hunter. He'd have my vote today.
You like him?
Yeah.
You're being genuine on that.
I don't know that I like him. I don't know him, but I like him as a player. I think he's terrific. Okay. I like Shedeur as a player. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was. The text line is saying it was Shiloh.
Shiloh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Shiloh, Shedeur, Dion. This Colorado game is going to be lit. Crowd is going to go nuts. Not worried about us getting up for that game.
Yeah, no doubt. That's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. That's going to be awesome atmosphere.
And that will be November the 9th, and hopefully that's a night game.
I don't know. I feel like Colorado will get behind it more if it's a night game. Like the better the atmosphere, the crazier the atmosphere, that feels like it'll pump up that group of guys.
You want it to kind of be you love the 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, everybody's still wiping the sleepy seeds out of their eyes.
What time are you people getting out of bed? 11 o'clock?
I mean, it just seems. I do not like the 11 o'clock game. I think it's well documented here that you love the 11 and I love the 7 p.m. game.
Correct.
So.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Spirited morning show this morning here on the Morning Drive. Hope you've enjoyed at least a piece of it, a portion of it. If you're a newcomer, okay, this is kind of what you get. Not necessarily every day, but most. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Scatter shooting, all those kinds of things. Right?
We do a little bit of that.
Spreading it across the bows, so to speak. We'll have baseball on the air for you today. The Astros and the Tigers, game 1 of that wild card series. Play-by-play at 1:30, coverage at 1 on 100.7 The Score. I got to assume that you're going to root for the Tigers because of Jace Young.
Yeah, I'll be definitely rooting for Jace if they win, but I'm not anti-Astro, so.
You could go either or?
Yeah, no, I guess technically I'll be wanting Jace to, I want Youngs to get back-to-back World Series titles.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Braves and Padres, do you have a preference in this one?
No, not really.
We'll have that game at 7 tonight. Balls and strikes at about 7:30. I like the Braves.
Who do the Yankees match up with? The winner of
Royals and Orioles.
Oh, okay. So this series, you're completely fine with because it doesn't affect who you guys play for the Astros and Tigers.
You're assuming that they don't make it out of the ALDS. Yes,
yeah,
that's fair.
Well, that's this particular winner doesn't matter yet.
I'm assuming that you want the Royals to beat the Orioles because the Yankees have I think they've owned the Royals this year.
I think the Orioles are the better team, so it would benefit the Yankees if the Royals won.
Yeah, if the Royals were. Then I think if the Royals won in the wild card, heck, the Royals, you might make a case the Royals just playing with house money as it is because nobody expected them to be in the playoffs at the start of the year.
If I were a betting man, I would bet everything against the AL Central teams because they had free space on bingo 18 times this year taking on the White Sox. The AL Central was under 500 as a division. 4 of the teams were over 500. That's how bad the White Sox were. So they got propped up with wins to win wild cards because they got to face the White Sox so much.
Wow.
I would bet everything I had against the AL Central teams.
You and I are just going to have to agree to disagree on your term there because nobody in the postseason is playing with house money.
No, I think the Royals are
concerned.
Yeah.
So they don't care. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if they win or not. Doesn't matter.
I think they care.
You can say it will be a successful season even if they lose.
It's a successful season, yeah.
To say they're playing with house money, teams they play to win championships, Chuck.
I know.
Just because they didn't, nobody expected them to be there doesn't mean that they're like, hey, even if we lose, we're good.
Yeah.
No. They're competitors.
Yeah.
They play to win.
You're probably right about that.
I just don't think you can ever say that about a team in the postseason. You can definitely say they've, played better than expected or, had a terrific season and it'll still be considered a great year even if they lose. But playing with house money,
playing with house money.
If we lose, we lose. Yeah.
If in the playoffs you're not playing with house money, I don't believe any team is satisfied just making it. Yeah, you're probably right. All right, Joey McGuire. He was asked yesterday about being 3-9 on the road. Here's what he had to say.
And I like when you put those stats out, especially the stats that favor us in the last 3 years. So this morning in our staff meeting, I pulled up the last 3 years of our plan to win. And so the games that we've won, Iowa State, Kansas, and Baylor, I know I'm going to be Captain Obvious, but we're winning the plan to win, and we're winning it, decisively. Against Iowa State the first year, I think there's 7 of them we either won or tied 6 of the 7. When we beat Baylor, we were 5 of 7, and then last year at Kansas, I think we were 5 of 7. And so, as Lance said to me this morning before he lifted the guys, I mean, good football has to travel, and the losses that we've had, in every one of them, we've either not won a single one of the plan to win, or we've been 1 of 7 in the plan to win. And so we've got to go back and really focus on, don't beat ourselves.
And so the plan to win, here's the 7-point plan. Man, it took me a long time to find this picture last night because I had taken a picture of the plan to win in the former football training facility that's now been torn down, and now it's rising from the ashes. Plan to win is this, Jamie. Don't beat yourself. Dominate up front. Win the turnover battle. Be special on special teams, which I think they have been this year. Create big plays. No lost yardage. Win the middle 8, so that's the last 4 of the second and the first 4 of the third quarter. Attack the situations. That's the plan to win. Okay.
All right. And score points?
Well, yeah, that's part of it.
Okay, because that's really, we haven't done a lot of that on the road.
Right, which is essentially why you haven't won, because you've failed at the plan to win. You've beat yourself, so to speak. You've not dominated up front, or you haven't won the turnover battle. I think, and one of the things that Coach Tim DeRuyter talked about is, and Coach McGuire talked about this yesterday too, is just eliminating explosive plays. Gotta do it. Gotta do that. Got to do a better job of that. And the other thing that Coach DeRuyter talked about is he said the defensive line they've got to get the rush quicker. He said we've been a little bit vanilla on that because of the youth, but he said our guys got to recognize the pass. And Coach McGuire talked about I'm not going to get to my specific notes here, but he talked about sometimes the rushers not rushing. He said you've got to rush, not push. He said sometimes we're pushing the rush. You got to attack the rush. So anyway, it was just they're not happy with where they are.
What he was alluding to in that.
Help me with that. Thank you.
There's 2 ways to get to the quarterback.
Yes.
There's power and speed.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of trying to use some speed and use some agility and getting around the block and changing where the block is trying to get you, they've just been trying to push their guy back. And you're not winning that leverage battle, but you're not also throwing the changeup in and trying to do a spin move or do a swim move or get something around the offensive lineman to get to the quarterback. That's where he was going with all we're doing is just pushing. We don't have the power to just push.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
The other thing that he talked about is he talked about their wide receiver who he said he makes all the catches. Number 4 makes all the catches. And by limiting explosive plays, he said one of the things that they need to do is they need to make them catch the ball in front so that you can tackle. So and he said the quarterback does a really good job of extending plays. He kind of reminds him of Kyler Murray, but just keeps going back to limiting explosive plays. So
that's really had one big one last week, right?
Yeah.
One explosive play last week. The screen pass that went for however many?
76 yards or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And they're really frustrated by that because that's like 3 weeks in a row that they've given up that short pass along the sideline and not been able to tackle the guy, push the guy out of bounds, get in front of the guy, stop the guy until he gets to the end zone and hands the ball to the referee. That's when they've stopped him. So it's not exactly worked out.
It's the guy on the tunnel that's holding the sign up that says, "Stop, Forrest!" That's what he's been stopping. Good thing it wasn't Bo. He just run through the sign and go all the way up the tunnel and go home.
Yeah.
Trying to get Jamie to laugh and failed miserably at it.
Everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Somebody asked this, think Prime will end up coaching in the NFL, or do you think he'll try to get a gig in the SEC or the Big Ten? He's got to prove that he can win at Colorado first.
No, he doesn't. There's somebody who's going to hire him because his contract is up at the end of the year.
You think he'll be in the NFL?
I think that Jerry will try to get some Dion magic next year, that's going to drive me even further away.
I think Bill Belichick's your next coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Bill wouldn't work for him. I think Jerry will try. I think Bill will say no. Dion will not say no to the Dallas Cowboys.
Prime time.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.